What's up, guys? Welcome to a free Every Dollar Budgeting live stream. I'm here with my friend Jade Warshaw. I'm George Camel, and we are here for you. This is like a special edition of The Ramsey Show, if you've tuned into that. If you don't know what any of this is and you just found us on YouTube, we're also glad you're here. We're going to be answering your burning budgeting questions, and here's why. We're not just a bunch of nerds who love budgeting. We want to help you win with money. We want to help you get out of debt and build wealth. Remember, that's the point of budgeting. So we're going to be tackling questions like, my monthly expenses are more than my income. How can I even get started? How do I deal with changes that come up throughout the month? Can I still budget and enjoy my life? Should we combine finances in the budget? And how can couples budget together if they're not on the same page? Jade, we've heard these 1,000 times, but they're still different for each person.
That's right. So we're going to take the next 45 minutes to an hour, and we're just going to literally go through all of these questions. If you have more, you can ask them in the chat. We'll be monitoring that as well. So we went on YouTube and we said, what would you say is the most challenging budgeting problem that you're facing? What is actually keeping you from budgeting? And George, the responses were pretty crazy.
I love to read a comment section. Here are some of them. Not enough cash flow. After 60 hours, my budget won't budget. I love the honesty.
I love it. This person said, how do you budget $0? Like, I have no money.
Hard. For me, it was tracking where every dollar was going because I honestly didn't know. It felt like I had a bucket with a hole in it. We've all been there.
I know, that's right. And then finally, some person said, listen, this is just not enough money. I know so many people are feeling that. So in other words, the sentiment here, George, is just my monthly expenses are more than my income. Like, I'm spending more than I make. How can I get started? So we're going to talk about that today.
There's also this excuse of like, well, I don't budget because I don't make enough to budget. Like budgeting, people think budgeting is either for broke people or like wealthy people, and budgeting is for people who want to win with money,
that's
regardless
a very good point.
of where they are.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not about how much money you have. It's about making the money that you do have go the furthest.
And it's not for Excel nerds either. It's for all of us. And that's why I love Every Dollar is our team was like, hey, let's never look at Excel again. Let's make an easy to use app where you can just log in and see all of your expenses. Your spouse can be logged into the same account. It makes it super easy. So we'll get into that later. But let's get started with that question, Jade. My monthly expenses are more than my income. How can I even get started?
All right. So to illustrate that, because we want to hear directly from you guys, we had Lizzie email us and she asked us a very detailed question. She said, my husband and I have a combined income of $180,000. This is before taxes, but we have a negative balance every month in our account. We consistently have $9,000 balance on our credit cards and just can't seem to get out of debt. Daycare is costing us $1,600 a month. Our mortgage is costing us $3,800 a month. And we have a car payment of $300 a month. Sounds very normal, George. She says all other expenses are the usual. It's utilities and groceries. There's nothing out of the ordinary here. She says, if I stay home with the kids and take them out of daycare, we can't afford the mortgage and we would have to move. With interest rates being so high, we'd only save a little each month anyway if we decided to move, unless it was half the price, which I'm not sure we're prepared to do. Any advice would be appreciated. So
this is the typical American story. They make amazing money. I mean, they're making $180,000 pre-tax, and yet they're broke.
Yeah,
they can't
far
breathe.
above median, like doing way better than average. And they've got kids in daycare, which is very normal. She's right. Nothing out of here sounds out of the ordinary. Obviously, I hate that she has a $300 car payment. I hate that she's using credit cards. But this is the time where a budget works the most. So it sounds like they don't have a budget. And when you don't have one, it's just like chaos floating around your head. So Bobby, let's kind of show her how Every Dollar can help get all of this in one place so she can see it. We're going to pull Every Dollar up on the screen and just get you orientated. Orientated? Is that a word?
Oriented.
Ooh, Lord.
That was a good one.
Listen,
Jade
write
out
it
here
down.
just making up new Webster's words for you.
Check the book.
Fun.
So
listen, if you log in for Every Dollar for your first time, you're going to go through a little setup. Our team walks you through, hey, here's some of your things you're going to log in, your income, your expenses. But once you have a budget, here's what it will look like every month.
Right.
And it's going to look different for everyone.
And for Lizzie and for all of you, it's great because there's a place where you can put your income right at the top, his paycheck, her paycheck, or maybe it's only one spouse working, but you get several paychecks. However many times you get paid, you want to put a separate one on there. Paycheck number 1, 2, 3, 4, however that goes, or you can title it whatever you want. And then what I love is there's a place beyond the income where you can start putting your expenses expenses, like she mentioned, nothing out of the ordinary. She's got her utilities and they've got daycare costs. And so what I love about Every Dollar is it's very customizable. Everybody's budget is different. And so you can see that little add item in blue. You can add items or you can delete items.
If you hover over it, you'll see a little trash can, a little red trash can. Once you click into it, there it is, the blue trash can. Once you hover over it, turns red. You can delete an item too.
Yeah, and you can make new categories. Bobby, show how you can move the categories around and add a group, and you can group them the way that makes sense for you. And so I think in Lizzie's case, honestly, just starting by going, okay, I understand right now, like don't get so overwhelmed to the point where you don't even start. Just go in and fill it out. And then you'll really see, oh, okay, I understand why we're spending $9,000 and carrying a $9,000 credit card balance every month. It's because we're going crazy in a certain category, because with their income, George, they're going crazy somewhere.
Well, I can tell you just looking at the numbers here, Jade, their mortgage. Did you see this? $3,800 a month.
Yeah, I didn't even
now,
catch that.
They have a great income. But the parameter that we use for mortgages so that you don't become house poor, where you don't have money to live, is 25% of your take-home pay.
Yeah.
And right now, it's 25% of their gross income every month.
Yeah.
And so
good
that's
call.
part of the issue here. And they said, hey, if we don't change something, we might need to move.
Yeah, and you might need to.
There's no easy way to say that, but listen, you couldn't afford the $3,800 a month mortgage payment unless your income is about to go up.
Right.
And so I would wait. Don't go ahead and just sell the house today, but see if you can get the income up over the next 6 months to try to get over this. And remember, daycare is not forever.
That's right.
It does stink for the
Because when
5
kindergarten
years.
hits, let me
Magic.
tell you, when kindergarten
You
hits,
get a
it's
raise.
magic. You do.
Woo! And I got a 7-month-old, and so I'm looking forward to that, Jade. So part of it is the credit card. You get rid of the credit card, you'll free up a payment. You have a little bit of breathing room. Part of it is that giant mortgage. And then you also have a car payment of $300 a month. So think about this. If you just focused on the baby steps, baby step 2, knock out that consumer debt using the debt snowball, you would free up hundreds of dollars a month just by living debt-free.
Yeah.
And you might be able to stomach that mortgage for a while longer.
That's a really
in that
good point
case.
to make, George. And budgeting and credit card usage don't work simultaneously. Like you can't, so many people go, yeah, well, I put all my expenses on the credit card and then I pay it off. And when you do that, you may as well throw the budget out the window, because we already know if you're spending money on credit cards, you're spending more often. And so you've got to do.
They're so starry-eyed and optimistic when they open that credit card. Well, like, I'm not going to be the one who carries the balance, Jade. I'm going to pay it off every month. Here we are, over $1 trillion in credit card debt in America, and the balances. And there's people like this all over. They make $180,000 a year, and they're still carrying a $9,000 balance.
I say it all the time. Everybody says, I pay off my credit card every month. Somebody's lying. Like, somebody's lying. That's
Jade's
all I'm
gonna
saying.
find you. Okay, that's a good one.
All right, let's go to the next one.
You want to answer some chat questions?
yeah. Let's
You
do
got
that.
the chat pulled up?
All right, let's see. Chat, I'm on it. I'm reading. Let's see.
What do we got?
La, 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 la.
Producer James is helping us curate some of these. So let's go to this one from Josh. He said, in some categories of the budget, the amounts will vary from month to month. Should you estimate on the high end? And what do you do with the amount that doesn't get used? Transfer to savings? That's a great question. So let's say you thought the grocery budget was going to be $600, and it ended up being you spent $450. That's a good month.
That is a good month.
So you have $150 left over. What do you do with it? And let's say he did overestimate that it was going to be $600. In the Warshaw household, how do you deal with that?
Go back to it, because I was looking for the chat.
So he's saying the amounts vary month to month in some of these categories. Should you estimate on the high end? So for groceries or utilities, some of the variable expenses.
I would estimate on the high end, because it's easier to take things out than to add things to, because your money is your money. Right? So if you're able to estimate on the higher end without going into the red, and by the way, what I mean by the red, let's pull that up, Bobby, right quick so folks can see what I'm talking about. When we do an every dollar budget, we're talking about a zero-based budget, meaning that every single dime is being spent until it's zero, right? And so if you have the ability to estimate on the higher side and still have that zero-based every dollar budget, see, if you look at this person's budget, they're over budget $310 in the green.
Which, if you do the math on that means they're going to go about $4,000 into debt this year if they keep living like this.
That's right. So this person, listen, they've got, what do they have budgeted? Scroll down, let's see what they have budgeted for groceries. If this person has $600, but they can't afford to estimate any higher than that.
Yes.
So in this case, he needs to cut it down. It's like, okay, let's cut down groceries. Let's estimate on the low side for restaurants.
We have debt on the right side there. And so what if we cut out restaurants this month?
Yeah.
We said, listen, we're going to go to Aldi. We're going to make it work. We're going to do some breakfast for dinner, PB&J's. We're going to make this work. We cut that down to 0. Well, now we're just 110 over. Mm-hmm. And maybe this month, hey, we're good on clothes. Let's cut the clothing budget down to 0 this month because Lord knows we already got a closet full of crap.
That's right.
We cut that down to 0. Now you can see reality and you go, oh my gosh, we could actually make this work. If I just cut the fun and entertainment, because again, we're in debt, let's cut that by $60 down to 90. Now all of a sudden it's going to tell us we have an every dollar budget. And that little green check mark, it warms my soul.
And that's the point. When if you're up against it, you've got to estimate your amounts for what your money allows. If you've got more margin, you've got a little bit more flexibility to say, yeah, I can spend a little bit more here or there, and you've got a little bit more room to move around the numbers within your budget. So it depends on, where that margin lies in your life.
And you want it to reflect reality. I don't want to estimate a number that's really not, going to work out for my family. But you also don't want to go too high where if you've been spending $1,200 on food, and you got 3 people, it might be time to go, yeah, we shouldn't be doing that. Let's try to ratchet it down to $800.
And you might find that moment where, because I think this is where a lot of you are right now, which is you look at the grocery budget and you say, listen, if I budget for what my money is actually allowing, it's not enough money. And then that's when we start talking about income issues and is there a side hustle? Is how we're living too expensive? Is our mortgage too expensive like the last people? And so you have to be able to look at those numbers, be realistic like George said, and go, is there a major life change that needs to happen here in order to make this sustainable? Because some people truly are in a place where even if they stick to their budget, it's not enough money, right?
So, and a lot of times people don't actually look at their bank statements, so their budget doesn't reflect reality. Mm-hmm. So the best thing to do as you're making this is pull up your latest bank statement on your phone, laptop, print it out, whatever you want to do, and go, oh, I forgot we pay for that subscription every 3 months that comes out. Mm-hmm. Well, we need to decide, should we add that to the budget or do we cancel it entirely? But that level of nuance, you do that one time and you're going to find some money in the proverbial couch cushions.
Oh, all right, 2 more chat questions. George, what you got there?
Here's one from Andy. He said, I feel like I need 2 budgets a month, one for each check. Should there be a cushion in my checking account to ease the stress of hitting 0 after each check?
No. So let's go back. Bobby, let's pull up that budget again. So you
don't need 2 budgets.
You don't need 2 budgets. Where it says income there up at the top, you put check number 1 and check number 2. And what this guy really is getting at is he wants to be able to budget each individual check, which the feature within every dollar premium that you would use for that is paycheck planning. And that kind of allows you to go in, even though you're getting this whole month view of your budget, the paycheck planner lets you go in and kind of plan each individual paycheck and say, okay, here's when I get paid. What all can I do with that check?
What bills fall after that? To where I might run out of money before the next check hits.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this feature shows you. And right now we have a high risk of overspending. So what you could do is, let's say your utility bill comes in at the first of the month and your other bills come in at the first of the month. You can contact your provider, sign in online, and change the dates.
Yeah.
Without penalty. That's what you want to make sure of. And change it to the 15th or 16th.
Make it more convenient.
Way, the bills fall later in the month along with that paycheck.
Yeah.
So I think that's what he's getting at. And to your point, Andy, you do want to have some buffer in the checking account. So when you budget to 0, it doesn't mean you have $0 at the end of the month because we don't want you to overdraft because you missed it by $1.
Yes.
So I like to have a buffer of at least a few $100 as you're getting started. As you go further in the baby steps, some people may want to have $1,000 or $3,000 as kind of a floor.
Yeah. And especially if you're a person who has an irregular income, that's crucial. Like if you want to just be able to sleep at night, it's crucial to have that cushion amount that's always there. If you have an irregular income, if you get paid at random times, or if you're on invoices and things like that, having that cushion to know no matter what, when the first of the month hits, I'm good, is a good thing to aspire to if you don't already have that.
And some people go to the next level, Jade. They want to get ahead a whole month. So that money's already sitting there when the month begins to budget for versus waiting for the next paychecks.
Listen.
So if you can get there, you're way ahead of the game.
Yeah, if you can get there, you're ahead of the game. If you're in baby step 2, which is the baby step where you're getting out of debt, paying off all of your consumer debt except your mortgage, I would probably say, I don't know about that because that's money that you could be using to pay off debt if we're talking about thousands of dollars. But for those folks who are past that point, listen, I'm for it.
Live your best life. Okay, here's one more chat question from Brittany. She said, I'm struggling with budgeting groceries. We have a 5 and 6-year-old. My 5-year-old has celiac disease. I struggle with balancing groceries and eating out budgeting. Well, Jade is the grocery budgeting queen, and I am the gluten-free gladiator of the group, so we can both speak into this.
That's great. Yeah, for me, I can relate to the idea that my guess is if you're buying gluten-free, whenever you're buying specialty items, it's more expensive at the grocery store.
It's so painful. I'm like, you're going to charge me more because it tastes worse and it's smaller? How's that working out?
But the best thing you can do, like for me, I know, George, you're gluten-free. I try to do vegan food, which is more expensive. And so for me, one of the things that has helped a lot is I meal plan, and I really plan my grocery shopping ahead of time. And wherever I can fill in the gaps and make things myself, like, you're going to save a lot of money. It's different buying the pancake mix versus buying the ingredients and making the pancakes yourself.
Oh, yeah.
That goes a long way. And I think a lot of times people think of that as being super time consuming and really difficult, but it's actually not. Like, if you embrace a couple of things that you just go, I'm going to make that, I'm not going to buy it pre-made, or I'm not going to spend the extra dollars to do takeout, I'm just going to make it at home. You spend you can save a lot of money over time.
Absolutely. And what I found is that, once you do the math at certain stores, you go, oh, that's actually not a good deal.
Yeah.
So we try to go to, Costco, Trader Joe's, Aldi. They generally have the best prices when you actually look at the cost per ounce of items.
That's
or
right.
Costco, you want to get gluten-free bread, they got the giant, 2 loaves of bread
That's
for
right.
$8. And so you can sort of shop in bulk versus going to Publix and spending $8 on one loaf.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's going to be more work if you have intolerances, allergies in the family. But it's not an excuse not to budget, but you also might need to face the reality that my budget's going to be $50 more than my friend who doesn't have any
That's
allergies.
right. And you might, for a time, have to simplify your menus. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, we're not making the thing that's got all the ingredients. We're making the simplified version.
We don't need the gluten-free Pop-Tarts. We can just survive. There's a lot of
scrambled eggs.
Even just
scrambled
rice,
eggs are expensive.
potatoes,
Yeah.
all of that's gluten-free, and they're cheap sort of base carbs.
Yeah.
You get a protein, you get a veggie. That's how I shop, Jade. I don't know if that's makes sense to some people, but when I go to the grocery store, my tendency is just to go buy junk food snacks. So what I think of is, I think in terms of get a protein, get a carb, get a veggie.
Yeah.
And we will survive to fight another day.
That's good. I like that.
That's me. I'm not a health expert. I'm going to make that very clear. No
But
one
you're
thought I was.
gluten-free. You're gluten-free,
Based
so
on
that's
this
helpful.
body, no one's like, that guy must be a CrossFitter.
bodybuilder.
No. But I try. I keep my physique.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we told you this is all about you guys. Okay, so the next topic that we saw when we asked you guys what's the most challenging part of creating a budget or what keeps you from budgeting, you guys said it's dealing with unexpected expenses. And so here are some of the comments that you guys said regarding unexpected expenses.
Unknown things that pop up. Every time I adjust the budget, we preset. It's frustrating because the adjustments feel like robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's a good way to say it.
That is. Or this person said unexpected expenses, it's sometimes things pop up and we have to scramble and rearrange our budget.
And last comment says, living expenses, utilities, food, and gasoline. The varying amount is uncontrollable.
This is interesting. I can sense that people really feel a sense of scatteredness when it comes to this. But before we go to the phone, because we do have Jenny on the phone who has a similar question, I just want to remind you guys, like, budgets are fluid. Like, it's not the 10 Commandments. We didn't like chisel it out of stone and
Jade,
it can
I don't know
never
what gas
change.
is going to cost a month from now. It's now $3.48 a gallon.
It's written in stone.
I thought it was going to be $3.43. It's okay, but it's also
okay.
not. You also can do averages and go, listen, I know what my utilities were for the last 12 months. I know that in January it's going to be higher because it's cold. In the summertime, my AC is going to go.
Right,
So
right.
There's fluidity, but it's also not out of control where it's like, is it going to be $1,000 or $2?
Listen, whenever I teach about budgets, I say budgets are 3 things: detailed, realistic, and flexible. So let's go to the phone line where Jenny can ask her question.
Let's go. How's it going, Jenny? You're in Syracuse?
I am.
Welcome. How can we help today?
So it's not so much, like, I understand that budgets are flexible, but my whole thing is when I do have to move money from one to the other, I feel like I've failed the budget.
You haven't.
You need to,
look,
I'm going to be your Brene
anxiety
Brown right
of,
now. You
like-
need to drop the shame and the guilt. There's no condemnation in every dollar.
And I'm going to be Elsa from Frozen and tell you, you got to let it go. Like, listen, here's the thing.
The
If
fact
you-
you're even paying attention tells me you are not failing.
Facts. You're not failing.
Well, I think I pay too much attention is also part of the problem. So I've actually stopped using the app because it was to the point where I was like, oh my gosh, now
You were
it's red
obsessing?
again. Why is it red again? What did I do?
Well, here's the thing.
And I was obsessing over it. So I put $25 in the clothing one. I'm like, woohoo, we got this. And $50 for the driveway seal that's coming up at the end of the spring and everything. And then my daughter's like, I need new shoes. Look, this one ripped off the bottom. I'm like, dang it.
I think
so. We only have $25, and that's not a pair of shoes. And then I had to take from the ceiling of the driveway. And then, of course, I'm like, we're never going to get our driveway sealed because I'm that person.
So it would just be like the
Knowing
little ankle biter would just throw you into a tizzy.
Yes, and I know that we will indeed get our driveway sealed.
I believe it
It
for
will
you.
happen.
I mean, there's two ways to think about this, Jenny. Number one is the detailed, realistic, flexible. The detailed part of it is with kids, you have to really think ahead and think about, okay, is Wolf's birthday coming up? What's going on over here? My son's best friend in kindergarten is named Wolf.
That's rock and roll.
It's rock and roll, isn't it? So it's like you're thinking about birthday parties, you're thinking about things coming up with the kids, and then you've got your own life. And if you have a spouse, you're thinking about their life. So as detailed as you can be is good. But then there is the point that margin does play into this, because if your margin is small, when those things pop up, they are going to eat into some of the other things that were discretionary that you wanted to do. And so there is just part of that that you do have to accept. If your margin after all the bills are paid and all the things that you need to do is slim, and you're putting $50 towards getting the driveway sealed, then yeah, if something pops up that's $25, that's going to be disappointing. And at that point, I'd say, hey, is there a side hustle that we can pick up? Is there something that we can do in order to get this driveway sealed?
Even
get
just
that money
sell it.
saved
Can I
fast?
sell something on Facebook Marketplace? $25 worth of stuff in order to cover the shoes.
Right.
Another thing, Jenny, that I did that really helped me avoid this is just have a miscellaneous line item. And it's sort of the little catch-all. It's not meant to be sloppy or lazy. It's just meant to catch these ankle biters where you go, I'm not going to let anything throw my budget off. So I'm going to put $40 in the miscellaneous category, and it sort of becomes a nice way to balance the budget at the end of the month. Have you tried that?
I haven't. No, I have a leftover, but it's usually $16.34 or something.
Jenny is on it. She knows her numbers.
But I think what I'm hearing here is you have a slim amount of margin. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. It's just not a whole lot of money. And so to what I was saying.
But we don't.
Yeah.
I think I'm micro assigning things, because basically what we're doing now is I have two checking accounts. I have one for the bills.
Okay.
So the bills come out of that one. So I know exactly how much I need for my bills for this week. That money's in there. The rest goes into the next checking account.
Okay.
And that's what I was budgeting with. And
well,
then
you
I
should
got
be budgeting
inside my own head.
Budget all of it. It's fine if you want to put bill money in a separate account. I have no problem with that. But on your every dollar budget, I want to see everything on there, because
just the total thing. So it doesn't matter what checking account it's
absolutely in. Because then you're going to be able to identify other areas in your budget that might be problems. Like, for instance, when we talked to Lizzie earlier through email, we saw that it was her mortgage. Her mortgage percentage was what was making everything tight. And while that's the problem, listen, until they decide what their housing situation is, it's just going to be tight. And you might look at that. And right now, if you don't currently have mortgage and utilities and your bills on your every dollar budget, then you don't know where the culprit is. So make sure that you're putting everything on the every dollar budget, zero-based budget. And then you might find, oh, the reason I don't have margin is because we don't have enough income, or the reason I don't have enough margin is because of our mortgage, or the reason we don't have enough margin is because of our car payments. So until you put it all on the every dollar budget, you won't get a clear picture of what's going on. But I do want to say, not just to you, Jenny, but to anybody listening on this, there's nothing wrong with, let's just say, something pops up, grandma's birthday. Oh man, I forgot grandma's birthday. She's going to be 90. We got to get her a gift. We got to at least spend $50, right, to get this gift. If that happens, and you've already gone through your miscellaneous money, you've already gone through your entertainment money, fun money, there's nothing wrong with looking at other items that are less important and saying, okay, I've still got some grocery money. Is it worth it to me to trade some of this grocery money to get grandma's birthday present? You get to make that decision. For me, the parameter, George, is I don't want to take from a category that is important. I'm not going to dip into my 15% of investing. I'm not going to dip into my 3 to 6 month emergency fund. I'm not going to dip. Do you see what I'm saying? So there are lines where you say, I'm not going past this boundary, but in these other discretionary categories, like I can pop into those if I need to, and there's no shame or guilt there.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And Jenny, the other thing I like to do is prioritize my budget. So the categories start with what's most important. So it's giving, it's food, utility, shelter, transportation, insurance. And as you go down the list, at the very bottom, it's all the little subscriptions and the little luxurious things we like to do. And that'll help you just visually see what I can cut. So thank you for the question.
George.
That's a good one. Let's get to the chat, Jade. Here's one from my Marshall. Here's the question. How do you add yearly expenses in the EveryDollar app? Long-term care, auto insurance, property tax, etc. This is a great one.
Ooh, Bobby, fire up that budget. I love this. So I'll talk about one way, and George, you can talk about another way, because I have a feeling that you're a sinking fund guy.
Maybe we do it differently. I love a sinking fund.
I don't. I don't know why. I'm not a sinking fund person. However, here's the thing. Do what works for you. So I'm the type of person, there's certain things that are quarterly. And so what Sam and I do, this is just Jade talking. Sam and I will, in the beginning of the year, at the end of December or beginning of January, we'll do a projection for the whole year. And we'll kind of go through and say, okay, life insurance, we pay that quarterly. So let's go ahead and fill that line item in on the budget. There's a couple of things that are quarterly things, a couple of things that we only do once a year. And I'll just plug it into the budget so I know it's there. Then as we get to that month throughout the year, it's already plugged in. I know it's there and we're ready for it. Because I'm not really a sinking fund person.
Okay. And I'll walk you through. If you like Jade's way, you do it your way. The key is you know what's happening and you're in control and you budgeted for it. So, Bobby, pull up that budget one more time and let's just show people, if you're using EveryDollar, how to set up a sinking fund. So we have, let's use auto insurance. Is that a good one? Because
that's a good one.
I pay my insurance annually because I'm so frugal, and generally you can save if you pay in full once a year.
That's good.
So that's what I do.
Good.
Because that's just how I was raised, Jade. If you can save a buck, you save the buck. So let's say auto insurance, it's $2,400 a year, and so we've budgeted $200 a month in order to get there. So Bobby, when you click into that budget item, you'll see it says "Make this a fund." It's a very easy to see button. You click "Make this a fund," and now all of a sudden you go, okay, what's the original balance? Let's say we have this month's $200, but our target amount is the $2,400.
That's right.
That's what we're trying to get to. And once you do that, you can even add notes in there about, the due dates. I like to add that of saying, hey, it's due on, March 31st every year. And so as you go into all of your different insurances that get paid quarterly, annually, you can just divide it into how much I need to put away per month. That way it's sitting in your checking account.
Would you set it in your checking account, or would you transfer the money into a savings account?
Based on human psychology and discipline, if you see money in the checking account, you think it's bonus money.
I know that's right.
So this is the part where you need discipline. You can move it over to savings each month. So that $200, like let's say you have $1,000 worth of funds every month that you need to move over. You can move over $1,000 of funds automatically from your bank. You can set that up to automatically transfer that once a month to savings. The thing is, you need to know to transfer it back before the due date for that bill.
That's right. Well, pull up the budget again, Bobby, because this is worth noting. So with funds, let's say, all right, I've got $200 planned for auto insurance. It's on auto transfer, right? It transfers from my checking account into my savings account. If you have Bank Connect, which is an EveryDollar premium feature, then you're going to see that transaction. So let's show this to people, because some people haven't seen this. When you budget with EveryDollar, if you have the free version, you can manually add your transactions there. But if you have Bank Connect, which is the premium version, it will automatically show those transactions.
I can't imagine how many hours I've saved just having that Bank Connect and having those transactions pop in there.
Listen, some people like Jenny would love the free version because she's meticulous.
She wants to
and wants to put it in there.
Some people like that.
Yeah, some people like that. I like the Bank Connect premium feature.
I like to enjoy my life too. I gotta cuddle with the puppies.
Yes,
Thank you, Jay.
You cuddle with your puppies. But it's important to note that with every other normal transaction, AMC movies, you can drag that to whatever category, Country Electric, drag that to your category. But with funds, it's the one that you don't drag to the category.
Because it's sort of a non-transaction.
It's a non-transaction.
You're moving money between your own money.
Yeah. So if you do that and you see, let's see, you see the transaction of the transfer from checking to savings, you can delete that one.
Just delete it.
Just delete it. All right.
All right. Let's get
Moving on.
Some other comments. So this is a big one, Jade. Back to that question we asked on YouTube to the community. What would you say is the most challenging budgeting problem, or what keeps you from budgeting? And here's some more of your comments. One person said, allotting no wiggle room in my budget for family fun. Kids' birthday parties and baby showers, etc.
That is tough. One person said, I find budgeting for fun difficult. Why? Even if I allocate some money for fun every month, I end up not spending it on such activities and instead find an excuse to invest or save it. The nerd. That's a nerd. That's okay.
As such. The last one here, saving versus fun money. I have a robust savings, but I always feel like it grows at a snail's pace and don't want to meaningfully cut fun money to make savings grow faster.
Okay.
I'm seeing a theme here.
The theme is, can I budget and still enjoy my life?
No fun. I'm just kidding.
Here's the thing. We have found here at Ramsey Solutions
We're
that
fun. We budget.
Yeah, but there's really two kind of main personality camps that people fall into. There's like a nerd and a free spirit. And I find
Spenders
that
and savers.
Spender and saver. And I find that the nerd is the person who, like this person, they find it difficult to budget for fun money and they would rather save or invest it or that kind of thing. And then there's the spender who's like, listen, fill up the fun money category. Like, I'm ready to go.
Can I tell you, if you're married to the nerd, you love the nerd, but you don't like the nerd. And when the nerd brings up budget and Dave Ramsey, you're like, oh my gosh, there goes my nails this month. I'm not getting those crispy boys done. And you got to enjoy life.
George,
you got to have a budget committee meeting and go, I get a vote.
Have you ever been the person who's converted? Like, have you ever, I started out as a spender and converted to nerd.
Wow.
And then once we paid off our debt, I converted back to spender.
You kind of switch the throttle there. If you guys know how to drive a manual stick, you know about throttle. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
So the point is you can have these different personalities that exist, or you can be multiple personalities and they coexist in one body. And, depending on what season you're in your money journey, it can be tough.
That was very eat, pray, love of you.
What
season are you in your money journey?
I try to...
Every woman on Instagram is on a journey. What's going on there?
So the point is, can I still budget for fun? And can I still enjoy my life while I'm on a budget? And Nicholas is wondering the same thing, George.
Yeah, here's an email from Nicholas around this topic. He said, my question revolves around fun money and how much of our yearly take-home should be used for trips, purses, golf, dinners, etc. We only have mortgage debt and make around $250,000 a year. My wife has been very frugal for many years, but she loves to travel. I want us to have fun, but I struggle. I like to just watch our money grow. That is you're a nerd when you like to watch your money grow, like paint drying.
Wow.
So every time we get extra money, I would rather put it in the stock market or invest it. What is the right amount for us to use on those fun things?
Wow. Listen, when I look at this, there's a couple of things that stand out to me. A, the fact that they're debt free, besides their mortgage, lets me know that they've gone on some sort of journey in order to become debt free, and they've been able to embrace a certain amount of sacrifice in order to win. And sometimes when you do that, it's hard for you to stop. Right? And so here at Ramsey, we always teach, like, when you're getting out of debt, you go intense, like you get gazelle mode, you go hard in the paint. But then we say, like, once you've paid off your debt, once you've got 3 to 6 months of emergency funds saved, then you can pull back. Like, you can take the pedal off the metal and you can just start being intentional. And so it sounds like with Nicholas, he's having a hard time transitioning from intensity to intentional. And when you go into intentional mode, you get to embrace the fact that there's 3 things that you can do with money. You can give it, you can save it, and you can spend it, right? And so right now, he's so caught up on the probably giving and saving mode that he's forgetting that you can spend it.
Absolutely. And this is where the budget is so helpful, because both of you can look at this and find the reality of how much money is actually left over for fun stuff. So put all the priorities first, your food, utilities, shelter, transportation, the mortgage, all that good stuff. And Bobby, pull up a budget, because I want to show them how you can start to allocate this fun money in a way that doesn't destroy your life, because there is a balance here. So I guess their take-home pay, if they make $250,000, let's assume their take-home pay every month is $15,000.
Okay, love it.
So with that, let's assume they have $1,890 left to budget for fun. Now, homeboy wants to put it in the stock market, but we know he's already investing 15%.
He's already investing 15%.
You're going to be okay. Let's keep it at 15% until the house is paid off. Then he can have his fun and ramp up investing.
That's right.
So let's just say if we want to use $1,890 on fun, let's go down to some fun categories, Bobby, and start to add some stuff. So you want to add it under spending? Let's add golf. And I'm going to call that $500 a month for golf. I imagine it's $500 a month.
Is that real?
The membership is very expensive.
Wow.
And then all the accoutrements and your tee times and all that good stuff, Jade. You know me. I'm a big golfer. Then we have dinners. So we want to eat out more. So fancy dinners, we're going to say $300 a month for fancy dinners.
Date night. I like that.
That's at least 2 nice dinners a month. Mm-hmm. And now she knows it's in the budget, and we're going to put it on the calendar, too.
That's right.
That's the way to do it. Then let's add clothing and purses. He mentioned purses. Let's say another $250 a month for purses and clothing for her. And if she wants to save up that money and get a purse later on, she can do that.
And let me add a layer to this, because some people are like, okay, George and Jade, that's great. What I would want to know, if I'm Nicholas, because I'm going to embrace my nerd, tap into my nerd side, he might want to know exactly what percentage they're spending on this stuff every month.
Yes.
So what you could do too, remember when I showed you there's the different groupings and categories? You could make a separate grouping and category that just says fun money. And when you do that, if you take a look to the right, you can see the percentage. Like if you notice all those categories there, giving, savings in red, bills and subscriptions in yellow, spending in green, all of those are the groupings that you've made.
Yeah.
So if you made a fun money group, and then you put all of those items in that group, you could see the exact percentage that you're spending every month. And I think that you would feel a lot better about it when you realize, oh, this is a small fraction of my world compared to what I'm investing and what I'm saving and what I'm spending on lifestyle. And so I think for the guys like Nicholas, that'd probably be a silver lining there.
And you guys can set that amount. And the key is you agree on it.
Exactly.
And so if she's like, listen, I got to enjoy life. We're in baby step 4, 5, 6. It's time to go from intense to intentional. Now, if you're in baby step 2, you don't get to see those categories for a little while.
Oh, yeah. Okay? Let's talk about that, Georgie boy.
So fun money is limited when you are aggressively paying off debt because you have one singular focus, paying off debt. So your fun money might look more like $30 a month total.
Okay. Every other month.
And so that's okay. And it's something to dream about as you see their budget when they're making amazing money. So they don't represent the average American. They're doing very well, and they're trying to let go and enjoy a little with a nerd in the family. So that's just one way to do it. And we still had tons of money left over, Jay.
Yes.
I would add the rest into a travel sinking fund.
Yeah.
To where you go, let's put $750 a month in a travel sinking fund. By the end of the year, we're going to have thousands of dollars. We go, what kind of trip could we take with $8,000, $9,000, $10,000? That's where life gets exciting. But the key is you got to plan for it and agree on it. So, great question. How can I budget and still enjoy my life? We just proved you can.
Anything in the chat?
Here's one from the chat. Katie asks, what do I allocate to a miscellaneous category, and how do I estimate an amount? Every month, this is my biggest variable cost. A related question from Co Music Studio, how to categorize the piddly expenses.
Piddly. I like that.
This is kind of miscellaneous, the piddly stuff. How do I estimate it? It's a variable cost.
Again,
this is one where you sort of know what's coming up this month. Everyone acts like life just comes at them. It's very rare that I just like, oh crap, we got to spend $100 today and we didn't realize it.
Yeah, I agree with that. For the most part, I feel like piddly stuff that comes up is $100
you can bucket
or
it
less
under a kind of shopping category.
Yeah,
if it's like $4 here, $5 here, don't overthink it.
Yeah, I have a cushion on my line item, and I have a miscellaneous line item. So I have 2. Miscellaneous is just like, oh yeah, that popped up, I forgot about it. And then cushion is like, it was something that I did budget for, but I didn't budget enough for it. And so I can pull from the cushion to kind of bump it up a little bit. So that's how I do it. And I just estimate it based off of your margin. So the longer that you budget, if you're budgeting for the first time, you don't know it yet. Like it's going to take you 90 days, 3 different months to lock this thing in. But if you're like, hey, I've been getting after it for a while now, and I'm noticing that this kind of seems like this is my margin percentage, then you can start to decide, okay, maybe I need to if I find that I'm going over that miscellaneous category, or I find that no matter whether I have a cushion or not, there's these things that keep popping up. My next point, George, would be to do a little bit of discovery and look into it and say, are these really things that are popping up, or am I just not doing a good job in being detailed about my budget?
Has this happened 7 times now? Because it's not exactly an accident and a miscellaneous. If this is happening over and over.
And so that could, if you look in those categories and you see all of the things that are miscellaneous are me going to lunch at work, or me going to brunch with my girlfriends. Yeah. And if you realize that, then it's like, hey, let me just go ahead and bump up my out to eat category. And if you're in debt, then you're going to go, why don't I just go ahead and just eat at home?
Mi Casa. It's your new favorite restaurant, Jade.
That's it.
It's a culinary experience. Before we get going, there's a lot of people who have been joining while we've been talking, and they're like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah.
This is an Every Dollar budgeting live stream, completely free. And you can also jump onto the app, which is also free. You can go to everydollar.com/free. We've got the link pinned in descriptions and comment sections, so go check it out. It's the easiest way to get started making a plan for your money. That's all
right.
it is. It's an intentional spending plan, and it's an amazing app that we created here at Ramsey Solutions years ago, and it's better than ever today. So be sure to check that out. We've been showing you the app on screen as we've been answering your questions.
Very, very cool. Okay, so where are we to now? The next topics that we asked you guys about, like what's a roadblock for you? You said that it was combining finances and budgets. Budgeting when you have a spouse, that's not on the same page as you. This is a pain point. So let's talk about it, George.
Yeah, here's some of the comments from y'all. Taking the time with the spouse to work it together. Another person said being unified with your spouse. That's a tough part. Another one said getting spouse on board with the budget. And finally, one last comment. Wishing my spouse had the same urgency and drive.
That's tough. You just want to smack them into place.
Well, that's one way to do it. Is that how you got Sam on board?
Put him in a headlock.
And he was like, well, it's like you like Men in Blacked him. He was like, where am I? All right, we're getting out of debt. That's amazing.
Man,
So
this is a tough one, George.
let's dive into an email from Caitlin that sort of paints the picture here. She
All right.
said, my fiance and I just got engaged last weekend.
Hey.
How exciting. I was wondering, when in the process of becoming married do you join bank accounts, before or after the wedding? Also, when do you recommend starting a budget with the combined incomes? Should we start now or wait till after we get married? We're getting married this summer.
Ooh, love it. So what I would say is you do not combine finances in any way. You don't combine bank accounts. You don't start paying off each other's debt. Nothing like that until you have that certificate from the courthouse, until you say, I do. That's when you start. Now, if you wanted to start kind of projecting what your life will be like when you get married, yeah, get a piece of paper, pen and paper, start writing it out, start seeing what it will look like, you know, when you both have your incomes. If you want to dream a little bit together, I'm fine with that.
You could do a hypothetical every dollar budget and go, here's what our life will look like. If you're, a month out from getting married and you want to get a picture of what life's going to be like, if things going to be tight.
That's a good idea.
So I think that's awesome. But yeah, don't combine bank accounts. Don't make any actual financial moves until after you're officially married. Don't start paying off his debt. Don't start paying off her debt. Don't buy a house together. These are really bad moves. And if you don't believe me, watch The Ramsey Show for like 30 seconds. And you go, oh boy, that's why they tell them not to do that. So,
well, we got JT on the phone. He's got a question about budgeting with his spouse. Let's see what he says.
Ooh, JT, what is going on, my man? You're in Provo, Utah?
Yes, sir. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Thanks for calling in. What's your question?
Good to talk to you. So, I feel like my wife and I are pretty good with our budget. We're about to graduate college with chemical engineering degrees. So, combined income is going to be pretty good. Pretty much well into the six figures. We've covered
What
all
kind
our
of six
basics. We
figures?
use every dollar.
What kind of, you can have 100s, 200s, 300s? Tell me which ones.
We'll be high 100s probably,
Awesome.
or
Nice.
mid 100s.
Okay, let's
we're
call it
combined.
160.
So, yeah. So looking at the budget going forward, we really do. I feel like we do well. But my question is since I've been, in high school and even younger, I've always had the dream of getting a truck, and that's kind of one of my financial goals. Life goals is to get a truck. But it seems like there's always a better fund to put money in. So I'm wondering, how can I get my spouse on board to get that truck when I want to do it smart, save up a X amount every year, maybe 6 or 7 for 5 or 6 or 7 years, and then be able to get that kind of dream truck of mine.
There's definitely part of this you're going to be making in the mid 100s. Do you guys have any debt?
We do not. No debt.
Okay, no debt. And you're going to want to purchase a home together, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so that is definitely in the budget as well.
Okay.
And is she like, when you bring this up, is she going, well, if you're going to spend $50,000, I'd rather spend it on a down payment than a truck? What are the conversations like?
There's down payment. We could get more house with that. We could put that towards kids' college fund.
So it comes down to priorities.
And yeah.
What do you drive right now?
We drive great cars.
What are
But
they?
it's not a truck.
One for arguments. No,
Are they
it's not
paid
a
for?
truck. They are paid for. Yes, both cars are paid
What
for.
if
We
you
drive
got like a
17 Civic and a 19 CRV.
Okay, so great, reliable vehicles.
Yes.
And what
Great.
would happen if let's say you got a used truck that's not your dream truck, but you had a truck. Would that make you happy temporarily until you got into a house?
I think so, yeah.
So that's one option. I think presenting her with options and going, hey, what if I bought a $15,000 truck? I sold mine. I upgraded. It only cost us this much. The rest were focused on the down payment. You think that would be a different conversation?
For me, it would be. Wait, I'm a chime in as the spouse.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your spouse's name? Your fiance?
Valerie.
Valerie. I'm gonna be Valerie for a minute. It seems like if I were Valerie, I'd be like, hey, JT, I'm all about you getting this truck, but I'd love to get a house first. I'd love to do the things that would make us financially literate adults. I'd want to prioritize making sure we've got a stable living environment, that we're putting the right amount down on a home, that we're not waiting till kingdom come. I'd want to make sure that we're investing 15%. And then once we're doing that, then I would feel better about going, okay, now we can take extra margin and put it towards these vehicles. Because my thought would be, unless the vehicles we have are hot messes, then I'm not in a rush to replace them.
And I'll tell you, JT, I'm Team Jade on this only because I live this out. I did not upgrade my beater car until not only did we get a house, we paid off the house. And that was like my treat yourself. All right, I feel like I've really earned this now.
Then you can really go in.
And then we really had the margin, so it happened faster. And so I'm not saying you have to do that, but I am saying I like the idea of you can present her with some options and go, and here's what I'm thinking. I want to be a responsible adult. I hear your dream. What if we got the down payment, we got into the house, we were investing 15%, then any margin left over, we can pause on putting extra on the house for a little while I get the truck, then we can attack the truck, the mortgage. Would that be a different conversation?
I think so.
And that's probably I'm talking a 3-4 year dream.
Yeah.
With your income trajectory and how quickly you're going to save up a down payment with no debt?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, because my guess is she wants to put your money in things that are going up in value, which is real estate, which is your 401ks.
And things that she gets to enjoy, which truthfully is not a truck. It's her home.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
very cool.
I think that's wise. I think you're going about it the right way. The key is don't buy a brand new truck. Get a used truck unless you're a net worth millionaire, which doesn't sound like you guys are there yet. Then you can bite the bullet and do that and take the hit on depreciation. But for now, I'd find a good, maybe it's a 4-year-old truck, a 6-year-old. I mean, trucks are crazy expensive right now. So it's about the worst time to buy one.
And that's worth noting. Here we teach, we don't want your vehicles to be any more than half of your
annual
income gross.
So if you make 160, the total value of all your vehicles and toys and things with motors in them shouldn't add up to more than $80,000.
From the point that you bought it. Not what it's worth now. That's what I just added that little bit to it, George.
Now it's only worth $20,000. That's good.
No, I talk about from when you bought it. You paid $40,000 for it. That's what it counts for.
This was so fun. Have you enjoyed this?
I like it.
Thank you for all your great questions.
Tell us, guys. Did you guys have a good time? Tell us in the chat if you had a good time. Put some.
I'm waiting for a woo.
These things. Yeah.
But I don't know that we're gonna get that level of feedback from a YouTube chat.
We might. I like the little one that looks like a cheer thing where you cheer and it has the confetti coming out of it.
Well, hey, lots of people watching live right now still. Lots of people will watch later. So if you're tuning in now, you're just tuning in, you're tuning in later, make sure you go to everydollar.com/free, get started budgeting. We tried to make it as fun as possible because it is. Because when you do it and you see it working and you see you're getting to your goals, your spouse getting on the same page, it's a game changer. So get the app. The link is in the description, the comments on the screen. And if you want to learn more, click the link in the description. We have a learning hubs where you can learn more about budgeting from our amazing team and website. Jade, it's been so fun hosting with you.
All right. See you next
Budget
time.
for life if you want a great life.